Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's me, it's the GOC Kirkland Esquire, here to bring you the review show of Night 6, 20 feet below the surface of the earth. And yes, just to get this out of the way, I am still recovering from the near catastrophic night that I had on night 5 against Pinocchio Joe in our third matchup. And yes, it's still to be determined. Our unprecedented fourth matchup will be coming up, to be determined, to be announced. So stay tuned for that. I want to get that issue out of the way first before, as I said, I review Night 6 of Avi Klein's 64-person single elimination bracket style tournament, coming to you live to tape. It's your old buddy. Sit back and relax. We have a lot to cover. It was a night full of twists and turns, and all the stars were out in Avi Klein's The Green Room. Now, we know what the tournament's about. Let me lower the distraction. You can see that we're having one heck of a time down here in Chaos Corner. Now, stand by. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to try to suffer through this. You see that I just came from meetings. I have meetings all the time. There's a lot of things going on here. Let me lower this down here. Fans, the Green Room Tournament, the 64-person single elimination bracket style tournament, as I just said, we're going to review Night 6. Coming up, we'll briefly at the end of the show talk about what's coming up this Saturday night, live for Night 7 of Round 1 as the tournament rolls on. It's going to be a long, hot summer. And pending my physical conditioning, I will be here all summer to provide my views and my angles. And through my good buddy over on Facebook, Jay Brony, we're going to tell it like it is. And we're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not going to go through a long opening monologue today. I want to start off with late breaking news on what I believe who has moved on to the second round of the tournament. Stay here on all social media platforms. Follow me on all social media platforms. Welcome back, fans. Everybody over on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and of course, my buddy Jay Brony at Facebook. Welcome back. Now that we're all here on all social media platforms, here's the rundown of what has been passed on and leaked out. Well, listen, it's public knowledge. It is out there, but I'm still recovering, so bear with me. Second round. This is who has advanced in the Green Room Tournament. Award-winning actress Sally Kirkland. The legendary actor from Good Times, John Amos. Of course, Mr. Todd Bridges. Mark Henry, Olympic strongman, has advanced to the second round. Olympic hero Ken Patera has advanced to the second round, as has Glacier Ray Lloyd, and you know Ray Lloyd from the WWAB podcast network with his show that's on every week live with Avi Klein, and that's Breaking the Ice. He has advanced to the second round. Also, Steve Lee, a.k.a. Stephen Lee, a true real American hero, has advanced to the second round. We also know whether she's Gucci or not, but she's one heck of an entertainer and singer. Oh, who knew? Jessica has advanced to the second round also, and I have a long history with this large El Gigante of a man, and that would be one Rock Richards. Now, all these people have advanced to the second round, all these stars, all these legends, and it was just announced by Avi Klein himself, Vanilla Fine Klein, Midnight Fine Klein, Festive Fine Klein, Avocado Klein, Blue Ice Klein, Red Wine Fine Klein. He announced that Tommy Davidson from In Living Color, Rick Barry, top 50 all-time NBA greatest, and Steven Tobolowsky from Groundhog fame have all advanced to the second round. So those are the spoiler alerts. This is what I'm here to cover. Night 6 of round 1 of the Green Room Tournament. Now sit back. I'm hoping to get through this. I don't want to have to do this in 2 parts, but we have a lot to cover. Whether it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, or 45 minutes, I'm going to skip past the monologue. Bear with me. I have to hydrate, please, fans. I have to hydrate. You can see, listen, I know I look good, but I'm not feeling the greatest. Joe, I know you're watching. We don't like to have dead air. It's never a good thing to have dead air. But listen, I was lucky enough to get this shirt on and get down here into Chaos Corner the way I've been feeling. I threw this on just to make myself feel a little bit better. So here we go. We're going to move on from this past Saturday night. Here's the review. Night 6, round 1. We open up with, once again, I've said it on these last, this might be show number 9 or 10 that the GOC has brought to you, covering the WWAB Podcast Network and the Green Room Tournament. So the entertaining video highlights with Avi, the montage, the trailers, the short films, what he has put together creatively and content-wise has been unbelievable. Now, he has a montage with everyone from John Amos to Sally Kirkland to Robert Picardo to Mark Zickery, Michael Winslow, Andrew Casase. The list goes on and on. If I was ever to sit here and name drop, we would be here literally probably for the first 35 minutes of this show, and we don't want to do that. We want to get this on the air. We want it all to soak in from what happened this past Saturday night and what's going to happen upcoming this Saturday night, live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You're not going to want to miss it. Did I say mitch it? See, that's what happens when I end up having to worry about my own personal health situation when it comes to this tournament. Not only am I involved in this tournament, I'm also doing this on the side and have to turn over my back at any time to wonder if Pinocchio Joe and anyone else he's involved with is going to come at me. I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to come out of this. I still need some more time. I still need some more time to recover. I'm getting it back. Now, let me get back to the task at hand. I can't say enough about the opening highlights and the montages that Avi Klein continues to put together. Avi comes on and he welcomes everyone to the show, to the WWAB Podcast Network, the WWAB universe, if you will. Right off the rip, I've said it on these last preview and review shows here from Chaos Corner, he starts off hot. The lineup card, the matchup card, the flow of the show, whatever you want to call it, Avi starts off hot and heavy, fast and furious to keep the viewers to come in. You want them to be strong. You want them to come in. And he brings in right from the rip, Mark Henry. That's right, WWE Hall of Famer, World's Strongest Man, Busted Open Radio, legend, sexual chocolate, if you will, Mark Henry, right from the rip on his birthday. Now, Jay Brony did say it in the chat room that night. Now, Mark, I haven't had a chance to see you. I have never met you personally, so welcome to the Green Room as maybe a future competitor, if I can survive a round 1. I just want to say from the GOC to Mark Henry, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, world's strongest man. Happy birthday to you. Welcome aboard, Mark Henry. And boy, what a way to pop the crowd and open up the show. Unbelievable on his birthday. And Avi even brings in the originals, David Holliday and Howard Collado, to come in to wish Mark a happy birthday. And it never fails that when these two knuckleheads, I'll say, listen, I respect them. They're great at what they do, actors, thespians, talent. I'm not going to take that away from Holliday and Collado. They are originals. I have learned a lot. They have taught me a lot throughout this tournament. They really have. They're good people. A little strange, a little out there, a little eccentric. Oh, yeah, nuts. Oh, okay. I get it. Every time they come on screen, no matter when it is, these two, for as much as they're originals, they can't help but go back and forth at it. Is it jealousy, envy? What's going on there? But you notice it every single time. And then Howard's exit stage left, and we have David Holliday and Mark Henry in a talk. And Mark Henry comments and says this to David, and he's right, and he's true. Especially when it comes to when you're out of entertainment and you're backstage, you're in a social setting. And Mark Henry, and I've always said this, and I couldn't agree more, and to hear it from someone like Mark Henry, to have the juice that he does, that's right, the J-U ice that Mark Henry does. He says that eyes are the window to the soul. Truer statement never said. And I will agree that. And he was, of course, referring to David Holliday's candy corn glasses that he's been wearing for how long now? A year? Do you think they're sanitized? Do you think he washes them down? I don't know, Holiday. I'm just asking the question that the fans want to ask because let's remember the WWAB and what's going on. It's about the fans. And I'll get that out of the way. Thank everyone out there. All the pages, the 39 pages that stream live, besides the hosts on the WWAB, and you, the fans. Because without you, there's nothing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know I come off as a hard ass sometimes. I know I'm not feeling well. I'm under the weather, but that's a shoot. Coming from the heart. Without you fans to be there to support me and to support what Avi Klein is doing, we are nothing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's why I look a little snazzy. You know I have a reputation to uphold. You got to bring it all the time. So let's get back on to Avi pops back on after we get all that Howard and David Collado. Did I say Howard and David Collado? Howard Holiday, David Collado. I wonder how that would go over. Howard Holiday, David Collado. Freudian slip? Maybe not. Avi, I hope you're paying attention. So we go back to Avi, and he comes on with a poem that I thought was kind of inspiring, and it was called Sometimes. Well done, Mr. Klein, on the poem Sometimes. Now, I'm not going to reverse it word by word. You know I'm here to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, to break down a 3, perhaps 4-hour show and condense it into an hour, hour and a half here with the GOC. That's what I'm here to do. So I can't do word by word. You're going to have to go back and watch the show yourself, which is, listen, worth the price of admission alone. And speaking of that, it's free. You're getting this all free. Unbelievable. So we go on, and now Avi introduced via a poem, and this is what I'm always talking about, fans, not only Mark Henry, the hottest commodity right now in the business, not only from Busted Open Radio, WWE Hall of Fame, he is now all elite in AEW Dynamite, now on the WWAB Podcast Network and involved in the green room. Does it get any bigger than that? It really doesn't. You know who Avi introduces again via a poem? And I know I gave a spoiler a little bit earlier, but you don't know exactly what I'm going to say. That's why you're here to watch, and I know you're watching. I know a lot of people are watching. I get it. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's humbling. I'm here to do a job. Avi with another poem, and again, who knew that Avi was so good at... is he the new poet laureate of the WWAB? So he introduces from, listen, famed stand-up comic. You guys know him from In Living Color, the unbelievable variety show that was back in the day that perhaps maybe started it all. And that would be one Tommy Davidson. That's right, Tommy Davidson is in the house with Mark Henry. Avi does it again. He pulls it out of the hat. I said it when I was on Friday for the preview review show on the WWAB network. Avi is always pulling something out of the hat. He really is. Not only Mark Henry, which we knew about in previous weeks, but Tommy Davidson, again, boom, bang, explosion onto the scene of the WWAB network. Fans, I can't say anything more than that. So, and Mark Henry comes on and tells a story and remembers when he first met Tommy Davidson. How about the irony of that? That these two men actually know each other. He goes back to tell a story, trying to think what year he said. It might have been in the 90s, where Mark Henry and Tommy had met at a Foot Locker slam dunk contest at the Slam Fest. Tommy Davidson happened to be the MC, and Mark Henry happened to be a competitor. That's right, Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, can dunk a basketball. Slam dunk. Not only the world's strongest slam dunk a basketball. Do you understand? Unbelievable that the star power that has started here, not only from the pro wrestling world, from the comedic stage and film and TV, really unbelievable. So that was an unbelievable story, and I know I just said unbelievable 3 times, but what a great story. So here we go, the first matchup of the night. No one knew. We knew Mark Henry was going to have a mystery opponent. Avi brings in Tommy Davidson. Here's the first challenge. They're going to play the game, don't feel it gets enough love. In other words, what do you feel doesn't get enough love? It's a multiple choice that Avi comes up with. He's always coming up with something different, Avi Klein. That's why he is the wizard of the world of the WWAB. So here we go. Multiple choice. Tommy picks roller derby. Tommy Davidson picks roller derby. Now, I don't know about you guys, but growing up in the 70s as a young lad and then being a man in the 80s, I grew up watching pro wrestling and roller derby along with all the sitcoms and legendary comics from back then. And of course, the unbelievable music scene of the 70s. There was no better time. The 70s and the 80s really was where it's at. Roller derby has a long lineage, so I have to agree that roller derby doesn't get enough love. I really used to love that whole connection back then. It really was like pro wrestling on wheels, if you think about it. So Tommy comes out with that. Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, goes with disco fries. Now, you know sexual chocolate can get jiggy with it, but he goes with the disco fries as not getting enough love in the world today. I'm not sure if I've ever had disco fries, to be quite honest with you. That's neither here nor there. We go on to the second of what don't you feel gets enough love. Multiple choice. Tommy Davidson comes up with Ed Norton. Now, of course, we all know Ed Norton of Honeymooners fame. Now, he is right about that. Look who he played against. Look who the lead role was. Jackie Gleason, Ralph Cramden. Norton was incredible. The Honeymooners, you gotta love it. Now, is that Ralph Norton or Ed Norton? Ed Norton is Ralph Norton. Something to that effect. Anyway, Tommy Davidson, and you know who Mark Henry comes up with? Speaking of Nortons, he comes up with Ken Norton, the former heavyweight champion of the world. And Mark Henry's reasoning was Ken Norton whooped Muhammad Ali's ass. He broke the man's jaw. Remember that Ken Norton broke Muhammad Ali's jaw. There ain't too many people that were able to put Muhammad on his ass, and that's what Mark Henry alluded to. So he dropped Muhammad Ali. Think about that, all you historians, everyone that's watching out there in the WWAB network. Think about that. Everyone out there in the IWC, if you will, that watches Chaos Corner. Ken Norton, I thought that was fantastic by Mark Henry. Here we go with the third. What do you feel like it's not getting love? Tommy Davidson, in living color, stand-up comic. World's strongest man, Mark Henry. Unbelievable matchup here on night 6, round 1. Here it is. Underrated multiple choice from Avi Klein. Tommy Davidson picks Billy D. Williams. Mark Henry jumps right in and goes with Billy D. himself. And you know what? They talk, first off, Tommy Davidson says that Billy D. is ageless, and that is true. For all communities, for all walks of life, no matter who you are or where you come from, Billy D. certainly was timeless and ageless. And you know what Mark Henry comes up with? And this made me pop, and it made me bust out laughing. The old Colt 45 commercials. Now, for those of you that remember back in the day, Billy D. Williams and the old Colt 45. Now, come on. If that didn't get you, Billy D. Williams was certainly a legend. So we go on to the fourth. What doesn't get enough love? Tommy Davidson, Mark Henry. Now, Tommy comes up with baloney doesn't get enough love. Just like they said, they agreed Billy D. Williams doesn't get enough love. Ed Norton and Ken Norton don't get enough love. Roller derby and disco fries don't get enough love. Tommy Davidson comes up with baloney. And Avi says, why baloney? Because Tommy Davidson said it's a diverse meat. I never thought about that. Baloney is very big in the pro wrestling world. The old baloney blowouts, you know. You go out and get a pound of baloney and some cheese and throw it in between a couple of slices of bread or a loaf of bread, and there's your meal for the weekend as you're on the road with the boys, the old baloney blowouts. So I agree with Tommy Davidson, and Tommy said, you can't make it up. This is entertainment here. He says it's a hot dog rolled out to a circle. A hot dog rolled out to a circle. I have to say that even made Avi Klein a little giddy. So I like that, Tommy Davidson. Mark Segal comes up with Mark Segal. I gave it away. Mark Henry comes up with Steven Seagal as one of the guys that doesn't get enough love because, you know, he had the ponytail and people try to cut on him, but he was a legit badass. And he was in law enforcement. Steven Seagal is no one to be trifled with. So Mark Henry makes that point. He comes up with Steven Seagal doesn't get enough love. So what a first challenge between Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson. You got to give Klein a credit. Unbelievable. And another funny thing is Mark Henry and Tommy reminisce, and especially Mark talks about Snoop Dogg and in relation to a story about hot dogs. I don't know what you'll have to go back, but I don't know how we ended up getting there, but we ended up talking about hot dogs and Snoop Dogg. How is that in for shizzle my nizzle for rizzle but brizzle? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Let's move on to the task at hand. Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson. Here is the next challenge, but in between then, because you know Avi had Michael Winslow on at one time, and Michael Winslow was still in the Green Room tournament against Andrew Casase. Two incredible guys. It's Police Academy versus Revenge of the Nerds. And we know all the sounds and how multifaceted Michael Winslow is. So Tommy comes out, and in between him belts out. I don't know where the conversation went to or how it came up, but Tommy's talking about Elton John. And he belts out a rendition that, man, let me tell you something, Tommy Davidson, and you guys know his career, and we're going to cover that and get onto that, all the different people that he impersonated on In Living Color. Talk about class personified and entertainment personified. I say it all the time. Tommy Davidson. So he sings an Elton John classic, and I'm going to give my little rendition because this is what I do here. I give you my twist. If you don't like it, you could change the channel, but I know you're here. It's my twist. Plus, it makes me feel a little bit better that I can continue to get through this tournament. me. And I guess that's why they call it the blues. Da-na-na-na-na. Laughing like children, living like lovers. I guess that's why they call it the blues. Da-na-na-na. No? Well, Tommy Davidson did it much better than I did, but I got to give you my rendition. I mean, come on. So we go to the second challenge, and it's improv. Tommy Davidson, Mark Henry. So here's the first improv. Avi comes up with all kinds. You never know what's going to happen on the green room. That's why everyone wants to be in the green room. This is a perfect example of it right here. So the improv for Tommy is he has to be a football coach giving a halftime pep talk while singing the 70s and 80s themes of different shows and movies and things like that. Now, this may not be 100%. Avi will come back and correct me because I know he's watching. And he examines every little thing I say. And he's corrected me on it. I know you're watching, Klein. This is not 100%. It's 99.9. Can you ask more than that? Hey, listen, bear with me. I don't feel good, man. Bear with me. No. I'm okay. I'm hydrated. I got something over here. We'll get on to that. So here we go. A football coach giving a halftime pep talk while singing the 70s and 80s themes. Tommy Davidson, multi-talented, knocks it out of the box. In turn, Mark Henry has to play an over-emotional car salesman trying to sell a car to Tommy Davidson while trying to keep his composure while talking about his pet turtle. Who comes up with this stuff? A pet turtle? I didn't know Mark Henry had a pet turtle. Over-emotional car salesman? Where does he come up with that? Unbelievable. And I'll tell you, Mark Henry was pretty emotional about his pet turtle while trying to sell the car to Tommy Davidson. Very entertaining. And again, we go with more singing, and I'm going to give you my rendition because this is what I like to do here because this is the diversity of Tommy Davidson, how multifaceted as a performer. This guy can do everything, a five-tool player. He's just like Michael Winslow and other stars that have been on the green room. So I'm going to throw out my version of it. I used to love this song back in the day. And Tommy goes out and belts out another song by the Ohio Players. Fire, do, 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 huh, when you're hot, you really turn me on to another lover. Fire, do, 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 fire. Now, I think he did it a little bit better than me, but I want to show my versatility. Tommy Davidson belts out Fire by the Ohio Players. Man, I thought I was back when I had the afro and wearing the bell bottoms and the terry cloth shirt. And unbelievable. Tommy Davidson. It really is. So, at this point, we go on. Mark Henry has to leave. You know that he's a famous guy. He has things going on all over the place. So at this point, that part of the segment between Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson is over. And now they're not going to vote on this right now. And I realized that I said earlier, and it was a spoiler alert, but at that point, as you were watching the show live, you didn't know what was going to happen with Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson. So that leads into an unbelievable conversation between Avi and Tommy Davidson. Now, I'm not going to say it's an interview because Avi doesn't really treat it like an interview. He treats it like a conversation, like if you were in a restaurant or a pub or sitting in somebody's living room or over a cup of coffee or brunch or something like that. It really is that kind of conversation. That's what makes it different. So Tommy talks about how he actually, and talk about fun facts. Do you know that Tommy Davidson drove the Goodyear blimp or flew the Goodyear blimp over the Super Bowl when it was in Dallas, Texas? Does anybody else out there know that Tommy Davidson flew the blimp, the Goodyear blimp, over Dallas Stadium for the Super Bowl? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Anyone? Oh, talk about information that you'll find nowhere else. He also talks about different people, his relationships with Chris Carter and Michael Irvin and so on and so forth. And before Mark Henry takes off, Tommy Davidson compares him to Rick Ross, the boss, Rick Ross, Mark Henry. So a funny segment. And like I said, Mark Henry, does it get any better than that? So Mark is off the podcast at that point, the show, if you will, but he'll be back. And as I said in the beginning, he has moved on to the second round. But here, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we move on night 6, round 1, and here's the conversation, and I'm just going to hit the different highlights because I want to talk about these, and this is the part of the show that I like as good, if not better, than the tournament competition itself, are these conversations, interviews, whatever you want to call them. I'll leave it up to you. Leave a comment, share this, retweet it, post it, whatever it is that you do out there. And I'm counting on all you, the fans. And let's just think about it with Tommy Davidson. Stand-up comic, as I said. He's best known for In Living Color and all the different characters that he played. He was in the movie A Booty Call, Joanna Man. I mean, I can go on and on with his different things that he's done. We're going to get on to his resume because the conversation starts off. First off, Tommy Davidson is an incredible story. I don't know if fans know this. It's in his book, and we'll talk about that. He was abandoned as a kid. Was found as a baby. I mean, he talks everything, and he and Avi talk race and being raised by a white family and social justice and what he experienced and all the different things from his childhood and being from a multiracial, multi-skin colored family and real legit stuff, man, that if you didn't hit home and connect with you, I don't know what you were watching. You know that he's a legendary funny man. I already talked about the movies and how funny he is and of course in Living Color, but his story is one of determination, motivation, inspiration, and success. That's what hard work and treating everyone and not judging everyone and the stuff that Tommy went through in his personal life, I had no idea. And that was revealed and opened up. And that's what you get here on the WWAB and in the green room. So kudos to Avi Klein on that one. And no, I'm not sucking up. I'm telling it like it is. So we move on. And actually, at this point, and I'll keep it lighthearted, but Tommy Davidson, and we're going to get to his book. And we're going to talk about it. And fans are going to have to go out and get it. I'm waiting for my copy as we speak. They bring in one of the originals again, Howard Collado, briefly, because he wants to say hello to Tommy Davidson. That's what happens on the green room. And especially if you're one of the originals, you get the rub from Avi Klein. That's what he does for everyone. He gives the rub. You know that, right? So Howard comes in. Tommy Davidson may have come up with the line of the night when he compares Howard Collado to a seahorse with a mustache. Now, listen, that's priceless. A seahorse with a mustache. Let's make that trend when Howard Collado is on. Tommy Davidson, the legend, called Howard Collado a seahorse with a mustache. Tommy goes on to talk about, as an amateur, how he won the legendary Apollo Club. Now, if you're not familiar with it, we know how it is today, and Showtime at the Apollo and all that. But back when Tommy won it, and back in the day, and back with the history and the knowledge and all the performers that have walked through the Apollo, Tommy won the Apollo as an amateur. That's history. That's classic. That's knowledge. That's talent. And let's talk, speaking of competition, he goes on to talk about the incredible show that we all grew up on, or at least when I was a man in my 20s, the entertainment value, and I was into comedy and all the different things that they put out there in skits and improv in living color. What a class group of people, whether it be the Wayans brothers or David Greer, Jim Carrey, and I know I'm missing a whole bunch of other guys that talk off my head. I don't always go to the notes. He talks about the competition of the cast. He mentions all these different things and how you were able to be creative. We always talk about Saturday Night Live. You talk about SCTV, Second City Television, for those who don't know, and different ensembles and casts and creative people that have come together in the past, even like the movie based on Entourage. And you look at that and what they did in living color, it really was. Every one of these people went on to fame, fortune because of talent and passion and love, and that comes with it. You talk about the characters, and he goes on to do an impression of one of them. The characters on Living Color, fans, go back and watch this if you're not from my generation or you're definitely younger than I am. His portrayals of Sugar Ray Leonard, Sammy Davis Jr., MC Hammer, and Sylvester Stallone. And he did it live on the green room. And I'm not going to go down and try to, I could never do a Sugar Ray or maybe a little MC Hammer or Sammy Davis. But Tommy Davidson was unbelievable. And what he actually did live as Sylvester Stallone. Hey, yo, Adrian, Mick, cut me. Adrian, we did it. I can't do a Sylvester Stallone like Tommy Davidson, but what he did certainly was unbelievable. And what a creative character. You talk about the different people that we've seen on the green room. So the different conversations. Avi also mentions during this interview the different folks again, I'm going to throw it out there as spoilers, and I hope you're paying attention. We're 30 minutes in here on the preview review show of Night 6, Round 1 of Avi Klein's 64-person single elimination bracket-style tournament, here with your boy, the GOC, 20 feet below the surface of the earth. I'm recovering. I'll be back. I don't want to quote Arnold or anything like that, or the Terminator, but I will be back. I'm not going anywhere. You see I'm getting stronger every day. Okay? Avi goes on to mention certain other people that are going to be coming up. We already talked about he's going to have a top 50 NBA player of all time, and we'll get on to that. I mentioned it in the beginning if you were paying attention. He talks about the future appearances of Will Dafoe, Antonio Banderas, John Goodman. The list goes on and on. You never know what's going to happen. So that right there, as he leaks out more information, really is something to behold. And fans, if you're not staying tuned to the green room, I don't know what you're doing. So we move on to the Tommy Davidson conversation with Avi Klein here on Night 6. Tommy starts talking about P. Diddy and how Tommy vouched to the police for him, and it actually worked. Now listen to this. Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, that's right, world-famous entrepreneur, rapper, entertainer, a guy who's very generous, and a philanthropist, one would say. At one time, P. Diddy came to Tommy Davidson, and Tommy's like, hey, man, P. Diddy comes to me and asks me for juice and to vouch for him. So he would, and it actually worked. So he talked to the police over this minor incident, whatever it was. It was nothing crazy. It's all public knowledge. It's out there if you do your research. Like I do my research, and you never stop working. And Tommy said it actually worked, and he got P. Diddy out of some minor trouble. So that's something to put on TMZ or the rags out there or the dirt sheets if you want to know information. That's why you come here. And then Avi and Tommy talk about Tommy's book. Now listen, Tommy has revealed throughout this conversation the importance of his mother, his family, race, division, how he was grown up by a white family as a black man, and his siblings and how important they were to him. In his book, What's Funny About Me? Living in Color. I want you to think about that again and knowing Tommy's history and background. This is just a brief. Go back and watch the show. An amazing, perhaps one of the best interviews that have been on the green room. What's Funny About Me? Living in Color. It's a tribute to his mom, his siblings, and what they went through in life. It really hit home with the audience. That I know. So really, fans, the conversation was incredible. We go on to now. We bid adieu to Tommy Davidson and Mark Henry. What a way to start off the show! And we go to the originals again of David and Howard, and they pop in. And Avi, you know Avi Klein. I always got a meeting. I got a conference. I got to go here. I got this technical. Avi exit stage left, and here come David and Howard, and it seems to be happening every week. So at least you guys are getting the airtime. Be thankful for that. So they come in, and what's the usual? They start bickering and going back and forth. And right before Avi exits, I want this to be noted. Avi and Pete decided they will vote later to see who would advance to round 2 between Tommy and Mark. I know I gave the spoiler away, but if you were watching live, that's why if you miss the live show every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I don't know what you're doing on Twitch, on Facebook Live. It will be on YouTube as well, streaming live. If you're missing it, I don't know what to tell you. But at this point, we don't know who's moving on to round 2 because Pete, the national sponsor from Sharpie, and Avi decide they're not going to vote. So, of course, let's move back to David and Howard. What do? They start off praising each other, then they bicker, then they banter. They're like an old married couple, David and Howard. It really is. And remember what I said before. David Collado, Howard Holiday, Freudian slip. I hope you're paying attention. So then they banter back and forth. They talk about Tommy Davidson. Again, great conversation. And you guys are lucky to be on there. That Avi presents that platform as the originals to talk about such a legend as Tommy Davidson. Avi comes back. Howard and David are booted off again. Listen, they are the original green room screw job, so I can understand. So they're out, and Avi is back. And as we move on here on night 6, Avi comes on, and again, an unbelievable intro. We go back to the history of 1944, okay? And this is what Avi did live, so I'll do it to you. Remember now, and people were guessing and Googling and whatever you guys are going to do now, top 50 greatest NBA player of all time. Highest scoring average in the NBA Finals. 2006 NBA Hall of Fame, Rookie of the Year in 1996, 8-time All-Star, NBA and ABA, he held scoring titles in both leagues. He was also a champion in both leagues, in the ABA in 1969 and the 1974-75 season in the NBA. Have you figured it out? He went to the University of Miami. Has anybody? What? Now I'm missing a whole bunch of accolades. His number was 24 in honor of Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. So should I continue? That's right. Top 50 all-time in the NBA. Avi introduces Rick Barry. I cannot believe it. Mr. Underhand Free Throw. You heard the accolades. You know what this man's all about. Avi does it again. I cannot believe it. Who gets the legends and the all-stars like this? And here he comes, a man who takes no guff. A man who tells it like it is. You want to call him cantankerous? I said he's full of candor. I appreciate it. What a real man, a real American, a no-nonsense guy, a legend. Well-spoken, well-bred, well-educated, a man who believes his morals and his convictions. And that would be one, again, as I said, Rick Barry. What a surprise to have in the green room. So they go on to, again, it's not an interview, it's a conversation. They go on to talk about the legendary series, the 74-75 season, and the championship between the then Washington Bullets and the Golden State Warriors, and how Rick did not win the MVP of the league that year. And you know he should have. Go back and look at the record books. Go back. It was unbelievable to hear it from Rick Barry. And that 74-75 season with the Warriors and the Bullets, I remember it like yesterday. I must have been, I don't know, all of 10, 11 years old, and I remember it as a young man, a young boy, if you will. The whole thing that you realize about Rick Barry when he was a competitor, and for all those awards and accolades, that he's down to earth and he's grounded. He's out there, and he admitted it, to kick your ass, to whip your ass. That's the competitive fuel and how he felt about everything in life. And when he was on the basketball court, when the NBA was actually the NBA. And if you go back and even watch, and Avi has shown this this clip a couple of times, the 1997 NBA All-Star Game. I implore you and encourage you to go out and find that video of the 1997 NBA All-Star Game. I want you to watch it with the 50 greatest NBA players of all time that were introduced. It's a clip that you've seen on the Green Room and on the WWAB podcast network with all the hosts. And we'll run down the lineup before I get out of here. We have a long way to go. We're just beginning. And Rick Barry also says, hey, listen, it's about winning championships. You have to strive to get better every day. We know he was a legendary point forward, I guess, if you want to call it that. He played for the Houston Rockets, Golden State, we know, the Nets. He was a multi-champion. He talks about the underhand free throw, which is what he invented, basically, and how he was 92%, 94% accurate on that because he just wanted to try something different. And that he wasn't even happy with his record of 60 consecutive free throws underhanded. 60. He felt like he should have deserved 100 or could have easily gotten 100. That's how competitive and how this guy was. Talk about somebody that's willing to take your heart out, rip it, and eat it for lunch as a competitor in life and in the NBA, and going up against him verbally or mentally or physically. Rick Barry really was eye-opening conversation with Avi Klein. We move on in the conversation on night 6 with Rick Barry. Very candid, as I said. Go back and watch it. And if you didn't watch it live, you really missed out. He talks about how he dedicated the number 24 to Willie Mays. We talk about the 1997 NBA All-Star Game. Avi brings up those points. And we talk about how Rick Barry praises Kobe Bryant for who he was as a man, as a person, his work ethic, what he brought to the organization. And it was very nice to hear Rick Barry praise Kobe Bryant in such a way to come from. I really respect that. It really was something. So we transition from that as Rick Barry's still on screen, and Avi does it again. Listen, he goes to the hat again. He goes to the, I have nothing to pull out here. What do I have to pull out? I have nothing to pull out here. He goes to the hat again, Avi Klein, and comes up with another star of the big screen and film and TV, and no one expected this. This was truly a mystery night. He had mystery night way back when, whether it was night 3 or I forget what night it was, night 4. Go back and check out the reviews here on the YouTube channel and what we put on Facebook and on the WWAB network. It's unbelievable pulling this stuff out of the hat. He comes up with, now I'm going to say this to you, and I'll introduce like I did Rick Barry, like I did Tommy Davidson, like I did Mark Henry, and see if you can pick up on this. I gave away some spoilers, but this is what we do here. And if you weren't watching live, this is why I'm here live to tape to put this out to you fans, to break it down in layman's terms. This is what you would get if I was the Green Room host or any part of the WWAB network. You see, even under these pretenses of being sick and ill and being poisoned less than a week ago, who wants it and who doesn't, who works and who doesn't, who has the talent and who doesn't. Recognize that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Put that in the back of your brain. I'm telling it like it is because I'll say that to say this at 43 minutes in. Here we go. We go to the history of 1951. This man has been in over 250 films. Spaceballs, Basic Instinct, Californication, and of course, the legendary cult classic, Groundhog Day. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? That's right, I'm doing that again. Ned Ryerson? As anyone? Unbelievable. Stephen Tobolowsky. That's right, let me say it again. Stephen Tobolowsky. For you fans out there, I just read his resume, and that's not even a half of it. 250 films, an entertaining thespian, an artist, unbelievable guy. And if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, which I don't know how the heck, he must have been living under a rock for the last 25 years. Ned Ryerson, Needle Nose Ned, comes up and tries to sell insurance to Bill Murray on Groundhog Day, and I have to pull this back for this. And he goes, and Bill Murray throws the punch, boom, Ryerson, boom, boom. They go through that whole scene. He did it in one take. He asked what they wanted. He looked where he did. Bill Murray threw the punch. Tobolowsky, Mr. Tobolowsky, if you will, got it. Turn, spin to the camera. Classic physical comedy. It was really unbelievable to hear him talk about that. So he brings in Stephen Tobolowsky, but what Avi does, and this is how he bounces it back and forth with these stars from TV and film and entertainment and sports and music and pro wrestling and theater and everything else. And yes, you, the fans, the common man. He goes back to Rick Barry while Stephen Tobolowsky stays on screen, and we have a trivia challenge. You can't make this up. Now we have an impromptu. Not only was it Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson, now it's Rick Barry and Stephen Tobolowsky. So here we go, Avi, with a 70s NBA trivia challenge. Now it's a 5-question, and you get the points as you go on. Let's see. Yeah, Avi really puts people on the spot. Don't you think, Klein, you put people on the spot? Famous people, people of influence, people that are true reality living people, that independent thinkers. Don't you think that you put them on the spot all the time with these questions out of nowhere? Well, because I think you do. Here we go. NBA 70s trivia challenge for Mr. Rick Barry, top 50 all time in the NBA. Who was the only team to win the NBA championship? What combination to win twice in the 70s? Now, it's a multiple choice. Avi throws out a bunch of different connections of teams, of who they are, and you have to pick it out. Rick Barry, believe it or not, said he doesn't really pay attention to that. He paid attention to his team, when he was on the court. He didn't really pay attention to all these other J bronies, if you know what I mean. The answer was the Knicks and Celtics for who won twice in the 70s, and Rick Barry did not get that question. We go on to the second question. Who wasn't an ABA franchise team, according to that, before they went into the NBA? Bingo, Rick Barry got this right. It was the Houston Rockets. The number 3 question, remember, 70s NBA trivia. 70s scoring leader. Of course, Rick Barry knew this one. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Lou Alcindor. So that's 2 out of 3 that Rick Barry has gotten right. We go on to the fourth question here in a series of trivias for Rick Barry. The first time playoff team in the 70s that won the NBA championship. Remember, 70s trivia. So who was the first team it was their first playoff appearance, and they went on to win the NBA championship of the 70s. Now, I knew this question. I'm surprised that Rick didn't know it, but he's a legend. He doesn't have to. He doesn't care. He's one of the greatest of all time. It was the Portland Trail Blazers, and Rick Barry got that one wrong. We go on to the 5th question. Here we go. 68 games. There was a team in the 70s that won 68 games during the regular season, but they didn't go to the finals. How about that? Considering there's, 82 games in an NBA season, even back then? They won 66 games in the regular season, but did not go to the finals. Again, Rick Barry doesn't need to know this stuff. When you're a top 50 all-time, won 2 championships in 2 different leagues, do you really need to know this stuff? And I'll give him credit. He still got 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, but he got this one wrong. It was the Boston Celtics. How about that for knowledge and trivia? So Rick Barry held his own, but again, I'm going to say that to say this. He doesn't need to know this stuff. He's top 50. If you're top 50 in any profession in life, no matter what it is, I think you've done pretty well for yourself. So now Rick Barry decides and gives a closing statement that, listen, is very inspirational. I'll tell you what kind of guy he is, and he will be back. Like I said in the beginning, Mark Henry is on to the second round. Tommy Davidson is on to the second round. Rick Barry will be moving on to the second round. Now, if you didn't watch this live, you didn't know that. That's why you watch live. We go on to, here we go, Stephen Tobolowsky, a.k.a. Ned Ryerson from Groundhog Day, is back. Remember we talked about Todd Bridges when Todd Bridges was on? You know Todd Bridges. What you talking about, Willis? I don't like to say that. Different Strokes. Wrote an incredible book. I believe he's been in like 92, 95 different films. While Stephen Tobolowsky's been in over 250. Really tremendous and unbelievable. So we bring back in Stephen Tobolowsky, and this is what we're with David and Howard and Stephen Tobolowsky. The originals are back in. Avi brings in these, I'll say, I don't know what you want to call them, a circus of clowns, because we always talk about Get Out Clown. I get it, GOC. So David and Howard are back in as the originals to play this game with Stephen Tobolowsky. Now, talk about being able to get the rub. I hope you guys appreciate who you're on screen with. And Avi comes up with the hot potato storyline game. Where do you come up with these these games, Klein. The alphabet game, this game, that game. So it's an advanced story. You get it, right? You whisper in somebody's ear a story, and by the time you go down the line, 10 people, the story's changed 1,000 different times. You got to keep the story going. Let me see if I get this correct. So it's a hot potato storyline to advance the story. Now, David goes first. It's an improv. This is what Avi does. He gives improv to these guys. It's very tough to do the improv, especially live on the spot when you don't know what he's going to come up with. David, here's the story. Let's see if I get it right. Go back and check out the replay. I say it all the time. David has to be, here's the story. A man walks into a circus, something about a clown at the circus, fed to gypsies while eating eggs, and he's got to talk about his wife. And so here's the components of the story. The circus, a clown, how ironic, feeding gypsies, eggs, your wife. And David starts out with the hot potato storyline, advance the story along, and then he goes to Howard Collado, who in turn goes over to the legendary Stephen Tobolowsky. I'll admit, I was confused as a baby at Hooters. I don't know what was going on. It really was. Where does Avi come up with these challenges? But highly entertaining. So we exit with the originals of David Holliday and Howard Collado. It was interesting segment for what it was. It was nice to see the improv. I love improv. I'm still learning the improv. Avi then is now on screen here on night 6, round 1 of the Green Room tournament to determine. Did I stumble again? This is what happens when you're unedited, unscripted, raw, live to tape, one-man show. Nobody's going to chop this up. It's on the spot. What you see is what you get. Whether I mumble, stumble, rumble, fumble, misspeak, I don't care. This is what you put out, and this is what a true performance, and see how you move past it and recover from when you do, because nothing is 100%. So Avi brings in Stephen Tobolowsky for another great conversation. He talks about his first job on the 70s sitcom Alice, if you remember that. And also he talks about his experiences and what he learned through Norman Lear, the legendary film creator and Hollywood legend Norman Lear, who's done everything from soup to nuts in the business. Stephen Tobolowsky talks about his experiences at One Day at a Time. He talks about comedy, his life story, and let me tell you, I had no idea, by knowing his character and seeing him in different roles, especially Groundhog Day, what a storyteller Stephen Tobolowsky is. He talks about timing and clarity in comedy and delivery and stuff that really hits home. Listening to these men, whether it was Tommy Davidson, Michael Winslow, Andrew Cassace, Peter Melman, Michael Winters, I can go on with the different people, Timothy Busfeld, Sally Kirkland, and now Stephen Tobolowsky. This is better than any acting lesson or teaching lesson or school of arts or performance center that you can go to, is by watching these conversations on the Green Room with Avi Klein. This is better than any acting lesson that you would have to pay hundreds for. This is, in a word, priceless conversations and learning, whether you're a competitor in the tournament or someone that just wants to learn about the business and what really goes into the hard work that these people do. At one point, Stephen Tobolowsky talks about something that I'm very familiar with, and I won't get into it. We'll talk about it some other day. It's not about me. We're here to cover night 6. But similar references, and I know Jay Broney put it out there on Facebook as well. Stephen talks about when he was in a grocery store to buy mangoes. That's right, mangoes. All he was doing, Mr. Tobolowsky, was going to get some mangoes. He wasn't bothering anyone, and he had a gun put to his head. A gun put to his head during a robbery, wrong place, wrong time, and he told the story how he actually talked the robber out of it, was able to get out of the grocery store all over some mangoes. Stephen Tobolowsky, Ned Ryerson had a gun to his head. Real life story. That's what you get on the Green Room, is the vulnerability besides the chicanery. Yes, Days of Our Lives, General Hospital. I already talked about that. SCTV, Saturday Night Live. I talked about that, but you get the human element. That's what you get in these conversations with Avi Klein. That's what makes it different. It's a tournament/variety show like no other. It's the hottest growing, fastest rising movement in the entertainment industry. Stephen goes on to talk about with Avi. They talk about work ethic and they talk about the influence of Norman Lear, as I said. He talks about not being afraid, whether you're old, young, whether you think you can do it, you have experience, don't have experience. What advice from a guy so accomplished as Stephen Tobolowsky. Don't be afraid. He talks about his days and how much he learned on Groundhog Day from the legends like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and improv. Could you imagine being able to work with Harold Ramis and Bill Murray? I mean, I couldn't even imagine that as I even report on. I can't even believe that I'm reporting on such famous people since I've been involved with this. But I'm not starry-eyed because we're all the same. And that's the message. The content of who you are as a person, not what you have accomplished in life. That's just the salt or the icing on the cake. Was I going to say salt? Who puts salt on cake? I don't put salt on cake. So we go on to Stephen Tobolowsky. And then, of course, you know that Avi always catches everybody off surprise. What does he do next? He comes up with a game. What and why for Stephen Tobolowsky. It's called the Desert Island Game. Again, what and why? I don't know where he comes up with this. Which of these would you take on a desert island? What and why? And Avi comes up with the multiple choice of C-SPAN reruns or the C-SPAN network. A 1979 toothpick that was owned by Clint Eastwood, or a diary written by or Breathing Fire by Godzilla. So let's recap that again. C-SPAN, a toothpick from Clint Eastwood in 1979, and the diary of Godzilla. You can't make this stuff up. I don't know where he comes up with this. Talk about creative content. I mean, I don't know. So we play along on that. It really is something. We get on to Desert Island Game. I would have gave my own what and why, but that's another story for another time. We wrap up the interview and the conversation, if you will, with Stephen Tobolowsky and Avi Klein. One Avi Klein with Stephen's book. He also has one written that's out there, fans, that you can get. It's called Adventures with God by Stephen Tobolowsky. Let me say it again, Adventures with God. And here's the book that's based on a true story. Now, Stephen was writing this over a 2-year period where he did nothing but drink whiskey and play poker. It sounds like being on the road, drinking whiskey and playing poker and writing. And he came up with a book, very influential, very, very true to life. As I said, a true story, A Good Day at Auschwitz. As I said, he hooked up with actual people that survived that horrible Holocaust in the history we know. I'm not here to talk about that. But Stephen Tobolowsky and Avi Klein were A Good Day at Auschwitz. Again, he traveled and spent years of just playing poker and drinking whiskey with these folks that survived such an unbelievable true story. So that's what you had on night 6, round 1, as we wrap it up with Stephen Tobolowsky. And again, he gives great advice. He'll be back. He has moved on to round 2. You see the stars. The brackets are filling up. It's a star-studded tournament. We're almost on an hour here. Don't go anywhere because we still have a lot of news here. Don't go anywhere yet. Give me a second to hydrate. I'm still a little under the weather because I want to get on to what Pete and Avi do next because they refuse to vote again on Mark Henry and Tommy Davidson and Stephen Tobolowsky and what we just saw on the different people that were there and Rick Barry. So here's what, again, I gave a spoiler at the beginning. But here's other news and notes. If you didn't watch live, you didn't know this. You didn't know that Mark Henry or Tommy Davidson were moving on. You didn't know if Rick Barry or Stephen Tobolowsky were moving on. Pete looked like, I don't know, he just got out of bed. He was unshaven, looking like a thug, looking a little worse for the wear. I don't know what's going on with Pete from Sharpie. 1 week, he's a performance, looking good against Sally Kirkland, even though you got your ass whipped. The next week, he's very influential as a judge, as he is every week. And then this week, I don't know, a little unshaven. I don't know what's going on with Pete from Sharpie, but they refuse to vote on those 4 superstars. But as we know, it was released today. It was announced, and it's only to the benefit of the WWAB universe and the WWAB network. You, the fans, they've all moved on to the second round. This is going to be a great summer. So hold on there as we take a quick break because I want to get on to the main event. That's right, the main event, and it's not David Holliday. No, It's not David Hat's Holiday, the original. So hold on. We're exactly at 1 hour in here on the preview, review, whatever you want to call it, show of Night 6, Round 1, with your old buddy, the GOC. Stand by. Listen, you have to understand, if you've gone to my page and seen that my good friend Jay Brony has posted all my information, you see the photos, you see that I was spitting up blood, you see that I've been coughing, and you see now that I'm recovering, it's because I'm trying to take care of myself because I never know what's going to happen with Pinocchio Joe. I never know who's around the corner. There's graves being dug, there's lives on the line. We will be in an unprecedented fourth matchup. Okay, no one else has done that in the green room. None of the stars, none of the competitors, none of the legends from all walks of life. It's me and you, Pinocchio Joe. Let me hydrate before I get on to the main event of Night 6, Round 1 of the Green Room Tournament. Oh, I feel a little bit better. Hey, will you stand by and let me throw in a throat lozenge or two? Come on, guys, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. This will be uploaded. This will be on tonight. What's today? Live to tape. Today's Tuesday. We know that coming up, and I'll talk about that right now before we get on to the main event. I'm going to, let me get the pipes here. Tonight is Tuesday, so you know what that means. At 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's Face Value with Bill DeMott and Avi Klein. And of course, the Double Dip is always on Tuesdays, and it's Breaking the Ice with Avi Klein and Glacier Ray Lloyd. Mondays, which was last night, it's the world's strongest... Wait, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today's Monday! Look, is anybody going to stop me? Was anybody going to say anything? So here we go. Whether you're starting off the week or ending the week, I'm glad... Jay, thanks for looking out. I'm glad you told me about it. I'll get the lineup right. See, Jay Brony's never far behind. Remember that. I always have backup. Here's the lineup. Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the world's strongest podcast with Ken Patera and Avi Klein. Tuesdays, the Double Dip with Breaking the Ice, Glacier Ray Lloyd and Avi Klein, followed by Face Value at 5:30 p.m. with Bill DeMott and Avi Klein. Wednesdays, it's Maintaining the Truth with Pretty Paul Roma and Avi Klein at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At Thursday, it's a preview review show and plus a big announcement with a big star coming up and a new show on Thursdays. Fridays, it's Road to Recovery with Duke the Dumpster Drosy and Avi Klein. And of course, Sundays, whether you're beginning your week or ending your week, depending on where you are, it's the Patriot Del Wilkes and Unmasking the Truth with Avi Klein. And of course, one of my favorite segments, Wrestling with Faith and Pastor Andy McDaniel. And then there is what I'm reporting on right now. Every Saturday night live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the Green Room with Avi Klein, David Holliday, Howard Corlado, and even the Doylesaurus is back and making an appearance. Pete hit the Great Reset. So that's the lineup with big shows to be announced. There's a lot of stars. You never know what's going to happen. Things are ever changing. So at an hour in, I wanted to put that promo in there for you, the fans. Let's get on to the task at hand. I have to make it through this review. We go on to the main event. Again, let's recap quickly. Mark Henry, Tommy Davidson, Stephen Tobolowsky, Rick Barry. Here we go. We go on to the main event. Super Assistant Alex and the Spitfire of the WWAB Green Room, and that would be one, Dahlia Jubilee. Now, this is a battle of amour. This is a tryst full of triangles and love capades, and we have no idea. I do know one thing that's going on. I know that Alex is up 1-0 in a best of 3 against Dahlia Jubilee. This is the main event. As I like to say, this was a scandalous main event on Night 6, Round 1. Once again, Avi hits it out of the park. He should have played baseball instead of being a working for Lionsgate, because he hit it out of the park with the video montage. The creative work, the intros, the outros, the videos, what's put into it, the highlights have been unbelievable week after week, night after night. And here's the promos for Super Assistant Alex and Dahlia Jubilee. A video montage, business first and love later. That's the name of this tune. So we move on. We're about to wrap it up, but let's get on to the main event. Night 6, Alex and Dahlia Jubilee. Here's the first challenge that Avi comes up with, and it's improv. And here comes Pete, because Pete's a part of this. We've seen this throughout the weeks, that Pete has been involved in a lot of different aspects, not only as the national sponsor. So the first challenge is improv between Alex and Dahlia. Avi says that Alex has to play a musical performer having difficulty because he's gradually turning into a singing werewolf. Ow! So that's what Alex's challenge is here on improv. A musical performer having difficulty because he's turning gradually into a singing werewolf. Now, Alex is talented. I'm going to have to say he got gonged on that one. That's just my opinion. I'm here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alex, I don't know about that, Alex. Maybe you should stick to being a super assistant because you're talented, but that wasn't it. In turn, Dahlia has to play an argumentative, lazy lifeguard, I know a lot of those, who isn't interested in helping Pete's friend who's drowning. And not only is it Pete's friend, it's Pete's girlfriend. So Dahlia is this lazy, laid-back lifeguard who's supposed to be isn't interested in helping Pete's girlfriend, not Pete. If I was the lifeguard, I would have helped her. So I will say Dahlia pulls it off. She's not an actress, but I'll tell you, she certainly plays one on the green room. We go into the next improv challenge. Alex has to play a muscled-up attorney cross-examining a witness, but Alex answers his own questions before Pete can answer. It kind of sounds like Miranda when she was in the serene room and supposed to be counseling and answering people's questions, but always turned it around and answered her own questions about herself. Do you remember that, Miranda, in the serene room? You got your hands full with Maria. Yeah, Miranda and Maria. I just figured I'd throw it in there. So Alex has to play a muscled-up attorney cross-examining a witness, but Alex answers his own questions before Pete can answer. Highly entertaining. And Pete, I know you lost, but you're pretty entertaining when you want to be. But can you get the Mach 3 and maybe some shaving cream there, Pete? In turn, Dahlia has to play a fortune teller reading Pete's fortune, but mumbles and itches profusely. Now, she must have had ants in her pants, or maybe she caught something from Davis Jubilee, the old love triangle and Tryst. But there we go. Dahlia has to play a fortune teller reading Pete's palms, but mumbles and itches profusely. I don't know, fans. I'm just reporting the facts. Here we go for the next challenge. Alex has to play a dehydrated, high-strung math tutor trying to help Pete with his finals. That's right. Let me say that again. The brain of a dehydrated BB. Yes, Avi, I threw that in there. Alex has to play a dehydrated, high-strung math tutor trying to help Pete with his finals. I think Pete failed. In turn, Dahlia has to play a woman leaving her man, which happens to be Pete. Pete, you get left by a lot of people. Jessica left you in your skits. Sally Kirkland kicked your ass, and now Dahlia is leaving you. So Pete, you're not doing pretty good with the women here. So now, this is the part that's going to catch you. She has to play a woman leaving Pete for an albino hippo with 2 legs. Let's say that again. No, not Rock Richards, not Pinocchio Joe, not anybody else. An albino hippo with 2 legs. You're going to have to go back and watch the explanation from Dahlia Jubilee on that one. So we move on with the main event. Here we go to the videotape. It's like Warner Wolf said, let's go to the videotape. We go to the votes. Pete votes Dahlia. Avi votes Dahlia. And now Dahlia is up 1-0. The fans, you get no vote on this one. So now, not only is Alex up 1-0 in the series, but tonight here on night 6, Dahlia's up 1-0 after the challenge. We go on to the next challenge, which is debates. Alex is up first. Avi tells Alex he has to sell erupting volcanoes as a destination hotspot. Is that a yin-yang, a pun on words? Alex has to sell erupting volcanoes as a destination hotspot to Pete. In turn, Dahlia has to sell Turkish prisons as a hotspot to destination. And Avi brings up the Turkish prison movie, Midnight Express or Midnight Orient. You know the one I'm talking about. I spent 25 years behind the walls, so I lived movies like that. But a Turkish prison as a hotspot. So I don't think I would want to go to an erupting volcano or a Turkish prison, although I was behind the walls. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The next cell is the debate. Dahlia Well, let's go to Alex. Alex is up first for the next debate. Alex has to say why Hulk Hogan, let me get this correct here. Hulk Hogan's mustache as the greatest facial hair of all time. Here we go. Here's the challenge, the next challenge for the debate. I got it right here. Avi asks Alex to explain why Hulk Hogan's mustache as the greatest facial hair of all time. Now he comes up with all, oh, hey, brother, this, that, oh, I'll give Alex credit, but in turn, Dahlia has to sell why Tom Selleck's mustache is the greatest of all time. Now, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. First off, if you ever saw the movie Mr. Baseball and Tom Selleck comes up with free mustache rides, I mean, who better than Magnum PI? Tom Selleck, Mr. Baseball, and the list goes on and on. So I'll leave it up to you, the fans. Who has the better mustache? Hulk Hogan or Tom Selleck? I'll leave it up to you. Those were the debate challenges. We go on to the next challenge. Debates. Alex has to make a case for sardines bowling on a ESPN Saturday night with Diet Sunkist and a turtle named Roscoe. Avi, where are you going? What were you smoking? What were you taking? What were you doing on night 6? Mark Henry was involved with a turtle, and now Alex has to make a case for sardines bowling on Saturday night on ESPN while drinking Diet Sunkist and a turtle named Roscoe? First off, who names a turtle Roscoe? Well, I don't know. So that was Alex's debate. In turn, Dahlia, and here are the elements. The who, what, why, where, and when. English muffins, the ESPN spelling bee, a hamster named Bartholomew, and root beer. Those are the elements. First off, who names a hamster Bartholomew? You see where I'm going with this? Where does Avi come up with this stuff? This is the main event, and this is what you're giving Alex and Dahlia? At this point, I got to tell you something. It was getting hot and heavy as we move on with the main event. We go to the votes. Finally, the fans are going to get a chance to vote. Avi votes Alex in the debates. Pete votes Dahlia. So now we're tied up here. We go to the fans, and the votes come pouring in. Dahlia, Alex, Alex, Dahlia. The fans actually voted for Alex. So now, on night 6, it's 1-1. We go to the final challenge. It's been an unbelievable main event. Who knew that this would go to the final challenge between Alex and Dahlia? Who knew it would be the main event? We go to a Q&A with the fans. Again, I don't know how these certain fans, whether it be Taekwon or Lucinda or whoever else, get their questions asked and why they're in here. But we go to the Q&A as the final challenge. Now remember, it's 1-1. Alex is up 1-0 in the best of 3. Here's the first question from Alex. What would be the first order of business if you won the green room? And of course, Alex, in all his flamboyance and all his charisma and machismo, if you will, says he would have a nice, big, grand opening, a party, a musical tribute, a Liberace type night of stars and entertainment, Johnny Carson type interviews, Lawrence Welk, Merv Griffin. And I'm all for that. I like that idea. So that's what Alex said he would do. In turn, Dahlia is asked by the fans, out of all the competitors and their ideas, what would you come up with if you were to talk to all 64 competitors? If you were the win to the green room, would you be open to their ideas? And she said she absolutely would. And she, along with Alex, and this is why you see this is a love triangle, a scandalous main event. Dahlia said she would start the show with music and a musical number and have it based around that sort of theme. So along the same questions asked, and Alex and Dahlia are on the same page. Now you can see why Davis Jubilee is persona non grata. Even though he's in the second round, persona non grata to Dahlia Jubilee. You like that? Persona non grata. I like that phrase. So we move on to the next Q&A from the fans, and Alex is asked, which competitors have a chance to be a part of your green room? Now, you knew where this was going. You know that there's favoritism. You know they're involved in some sort of affairs. I don't know what's going on. It's not my business. Alex said he would consider bringing Dahlia in. In turn, Dahlia is asked the same question. Now we know what her answer is going to be. Amor, I'm in the mood for love. Simply because you're near me. Of course, we know that Dahlia says she would consider bringing in Alex. Well, I'm just telling you the truth. We go on to... We get a message, Avi out of nowhere, because he's always in meetings. You know he's always getting urgent messages. He gets a message out of nowhere from Davis Jubilee. And things here get weird. They get hairy. They get scary. And especially for one Avi Klein, because in this letter, in this message from Davis Jubilee, who comes out of nowhere near the end of the broadcast during the main event, he mentions the name Jake. And not Jake from State Farm. He mentions the name Jake in this message to Avi. Now, whatever it is, he starts talking about, and I don't know how Avi started reacting to this. He starts panicking. This letter says something about Davis Jubilee. It may even show up. Talks about Avi's personal life and family. And again, the name Jake comes up. I've never seen Avi like that. Listen, I've seen Avi all giddy and fawning over people, but I've never seen him really panic. He's as cool as a cucumber. He's as smooth as the backside of a spoon, Avi Klein. Is Davis Jubilee attempting to blackmail the host of the Green Room? The man who created the WWAB podcast network? The man responsible for the Green Room, Avi Klein? Does Davis Jubilee know something that we don't know? Fans, you're going to have to stay tuned. You're going to have to see what's happening, because all of a sudden, the boss, the man who can't be shaken, the one who's calling all the shots and pulling all the strings, all of a sudden is shaking himself and maybe will be exposed. Who's Jake? So I'm not sure what's going to happen. All I know is that Avi panics. Avi votes for Dahlia Jubilee, and the series is tied 1-1. So there's how the main event goes. Avi's panicked. Davis Jubilee's message, the name Jake. He doesn't vote for Alex. He votes for Dahlia. The series is now tied 1-1. Hey, and then, of course, you know what goes on. Very confusing here at the end. This is what happens every night at the finals, at the end of the show of the Green Room. If you don't stay till the end, just like this show, I don't know what you're doing. Get your head out of the sand. Avi wraps it up. He's very nervous. Davis and Dahlia, she doesn't need his help. Dahlia said she doesn't need Davis's help. She doesn't know why he's doing this. She doesn't know where it's coming from. But you could see that Avi's visibly nervous when he's trying to wrap it up. And he just says out of this, hey, we're out of here. We're out of here. And that's it. He was gone. Vanished. Vamoose. Exit stage left, as I always say. And then out comes the video montage, the trailer, the short film for the next night of the Green Room. June 19th. This Saturday night, live. June 19th will be night 7. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm briefly going to touch on that. We're an hour and 20 minutes in here. This is what I do. Sick or not, recovering or not, in the tournament or not, competing on that night or not. This is what I do. Teamwork. Being a part of something bigger than you. Giving back. Paying homage to those who are competing with you. And those who have paved the way before you and those who will come after you. So coming up, this Saturday night live, night 7, round 1, as the Green Room tournament rolls on, live. As I said, and always say and end my shows with, cards subject to change, lineup subject to change. When you're dealing with all kinds of people, this is what happens. This is what's scheduled for night 7, this Saturday night. Face value zone, Hugh Morris, a.k.a. Bill DeMott, against his old buddy from the Jersey Shore, Crowbar. Now remember, Crowbar's up 1-0. Brian Clark, a.k.a. Adam Bomb, Feel the Wrath, takes on Fred Ottman, the tugboat who's going to create a typhoon. Also, Preston Present, the man from Back to the Future, the time traveler, takes on the one and only, the sassy and classy Sammy Doyle. We also have the Lone Star Storm Twister is coming back. Hopefully no longer under the control of this psychopathic lunatic. The Yellow Rose of Texas, Mindy McKinney Red, will face off against that lunatic, the Music Man. And he needs to be taken out. Also, one of the originals. Yeah, a part of the Green Room screw job. That would be the one and only, and I respect him, and he's super talented. Whether you want to call him Howard Collado or Howard Collado. And you know Avi Klein is against you, Howard. And I say it every time. I tried to help you. You rebuked me. You will find out. Your first opponent ran off, retired, nowhere to be seen. Your second opponent, the legendary Gangrel. Well, wait. It wasn't Gangrel. Gangrel whipped Mickey Doyle's ass. Your opponent, Buff Bagwell, who stuff all the stuff. He's so buff and women love his stuff. Buff Bagwell embarrassed you, Collado. Let's see who shows up for night 7 against Howard Collado. That's all I want to say. And as far as me, the GOC, I'll say that to say this. I'll be back for my 4th match against Pinocchio Joe. The WWAB Podcast Network, The Green Room, and The Guardian of Chaos. Don't you dare miss it.